I still remember that afternoon, as if it happened yesterday. The sun filtered gently through the curtains, and I thought it would be a quiet day. I walked to the shelf where my husband Anthony's Bible always Saturday. He kept it near his chair, saying it brought him peace, but I knew he hadn't opened it in a long time. Something nudged me to open it, though I can't say why. My hands were steady, but my heart was uneasy, as if God was leading me to a truth I had ignored for too long. When I opened those pages, something unexpected fell out. A folded note, yellowed with age, landed in my lap. At first, I thought it might be a prayer or an old letter he had saved. But when I opened it, my world fell apart. The words were sharp, etched into my mind like fire. If she ever finds out the truth, end her life. I froze. I couldn't breathe. My hands shook so much I feared the paper would tear. What truth? Why would Anthony write such words? Or was it meant for him? My mind raced, replaying every late night he returned home smelling of cologne that wasn't mine, every time he brushed off my questions, and every moment he hid phone calls in the hallway. Suddenly, all the little signs I had ignored for years shouted at me, louder than thunder. If you are listening to me now, remember this. When something in your heart urges you to look closer, don't ignore it. Don't wait until it's too late. Sometimes the smallest signs are warnings. Please, share this story so others may open their eyes before they are betrayed the way I was. I sat there, holding that note, my tears soaking the words. My chest hurt so much I thought I might collapse. My husband, the man I trusted with my youth, the father of my children, was hiding something so dark it put my life in danger. That was the moment my quiet world of safety and love ended, and a storm I never asked for began. I couldn't close my eyes that night. I lay in bed beside Anthony, staring at the ceiling while he breathed deeply and calmly, as if he carried no burden. My heart, though, was heavy with fear. The words from the note echoed in my mind like a drumbeat that wouldn't stop. If she ever finds out the truth, end her life. I turned them over and over, trying to make sense of them, but each time the meaning grew darker. Who was she? It had to be me. I was his wife, his companion, the one who would ask questions if something seemed wrong. But what truth was so terrible that it would make my own husband think about ending my life? Every sound in the house made me jump. Every creak of the floorboards and every shadow in the corner felt like a warning. For the first time, I was afraid to share a bed with the man I had promised my life to. The next morning, I tried to look at him the way I always did, smiling gently as I poured his coffee, but inside, my stomach twisted in knots. I studied his eyes carefully, wondering if I could see even a flicker of guilt, but Anthony was calm and collected, the same man who kissed my cheek and left for work. If only you could see how easily someone can wear a mask. That was when I realized how dangerous secrets can be. Please, my dear listener, don't turn away from this story. Many women and men smile every day beside someone who hides poison in their hearts. If you feel something is wrong, don't silence your instincts. Share this story so others may learn that sometimes danger wears the face of the one we trust most. As I sat by the window that day, watching him drive away, a voice inside whispered, "You are not safe, Gertrude. Not anymore." In that moment, I promised myself I would not be a blind, silent wife. I would search for the truth, no matter how painful it was, because I had to know, and I had to survive. The days after finding that note turned into endless nights of doubt. I couldn't look at Anthony the same way, though I forced myself to smile. I studied his movements carefully, listening to his phone calls from the other room, watching how he tucked papers in his briefcase when he thought I wasn't looking. I felt like a stranger in my own home, trapped in a silent play where everyone else already knew the ending except me. One evening, I searched the attic, going through old boxes. Something pushed me to keep digging, as if that note was just the beginning. That's when I found a bundle of letters tied with a red ribbon. My hand shook as I opened the first one, and my heart dropped. They weren't from me. They were from someone named Marianne. Her handwriting was soft, her words full of affection. She called my husband my love, my only, and spoke of dreams of a life together. I read letter after letter, each one stealing my breath away. My Anthony had another woman. Not only that, but the dates on those letters matched the times he claimed he was away on business. He hadn't been working, he had been with her. My listener, I know it's painful to hear this, but betrayal often comes quietly, like a shadow creeping in. You don't notice it until it completely covers your light. If you have ever felt a strange distance with someone you love, don't ignore it. Seek the truth before it destroys you. Share this story if your heart has ever been touched by suspicion. That night, I sat in the dark with the letters in my lap. The man I gave my life to, the father of my children, had another woman hidden away like a secret prize. Suddenly, the note made more sense. The truth wasn't just about betrayal. It was about a double life that could end mine if I uncovered it. The name Marianne haunted me. It felt like a ghost in my home, whispering through the walls. I couldn't rest until I knew who she was. So I began to search. I started by following Anthony one afternoon when he said he had extra work at the bank. I kept my distance, my heart pounding, terrified he might see me. And there she was, Marianne. Younger than me, beautiful, with her hand brushing against his as they walked together like lovers. I wanted to scream, to run, to pull him away and demand the truth, but my body betrayed me. I froze, watching them laugh together, watching him smile the same smile I once thought was mine alone. That night, I realized my marriage wasn't just cracked, it was shattered beyond repair. Later, through whispers and careful listening, I learned something even darker. Marianne wasn't just his mistress, she was his fiancée. My husband had promised another woman marriage while still living under the same roof with me. My knees gave out when I first heard it. How could a man divide his heart like that? Dear listener, betrayal cuts deeper than any knife. But what makes it worse is silence. Too many suffer alone, afraid to face the truth. Don't carry that weight by yourself. Share this story so someone else may find the courage to confront their pain before it's too late. I returned home that night, staring at the walls that once felt safe, now mocking me with every memory. I understood that the note was no empty threat. If I pushed too far, if I exposed his lies, I might pay with my life. But I also knew I couldn't stay quiet. I had to keep searching. When I thought the pain couldn't cut any deeper, the final blow came. Hidden among the letters was one that made my hands numb as I read. Marianne wrote about the child she was carrying, Anthony's child. She wrote about how excited he seemed, how he promised to build a new life with her and the baby. I stared at those words until they blurred through my tears. All the nights I prayed for another baby and never conceived, all the tears I shed thinking it was God's will, and all the while Anthony was creating a new family with another woman. My body shook, as though the truth was trying to break me apart. I pressed my hands to my stomach, aching with the emptiness I now knew could never be filled. But my sorrow soon changed into something else, determination. If he thought he could take my life and erase me like I was nothing, he was wrong. I would not let his betrayal end me. My dear listener, betrayal does not define your worth. If you have ever been abandoned, cheated, or replaced, know this: you are not less because someone failed to honor you. Share this truth with others, because someone tonight needs to be reminded of their value. That night, I prayed. Not for Anthony, not for Marianne, but for myself. I prayed for the strength to face what I had discovered, and for the wisdom to use the truth to protect my life. That was the night I decided I would stop being the victim in my own story. It wasn't long before I found the darker side of Anthony's secrets. Among the papers he carelessly left in his study, I discovered receipts for large withdrawals, coded notes, and letters exchanged with his so-called friend, Edward. At first, I didn't understand them, but slowly the pieces came together. Anthony and Edward weren't just planning to leave with Marianne, they were planning to steal from the very bank where he worked. $500,000, enough to vanish and start a new life far away. I realized then why my life was in danger. I was the obstacle. I was the wife who could expose him, the one who knew his face, his habits, his reputation. To start anew, I had to be erased. My chest felt heavy with dread, but my mind sharpened like never before. If he thought I would sit quietly while he plotted my death, he underestimated me. Listen to me closely. Evil doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes it sleeps beside you, eats at your table, and kisses your cheek before leaving the house. Don't ignore the signs. Don't dismiss the little warnings. Share this story with others, because too many people live unaware of the danger next to them. I gathered every scrap of evidence I could find: letters, notes, receipts. I hid them where even Anthony would never look. I knew I would need them one day. When that day arrived, I would be ready. But hiding the truth inside me became unbearable. The weight was too heavy to carry alone. Every morning, I dressed as though nothing was wrong and smiled at Anthony as if my heart wasn't breaking. Still, the truth gnawed at my soul. I knew I had to tell someone. That's when I went to Inspector Mendez. He was a stern man with sharp eyes, the kind of person who seemed to see the truth before you spoke it. I sat across from him, my hands trembling as I placed the letters and notes before him. For the first time, I let the whole story spill out: the note from the Bible, the letters from Marianne, the unborn child, the theft planned with Edward. He listened quietly, his face unreadable, until I finished. Then he leaned forward and said, "You did the right thing, Mrs. Miller. We will handle this." For the first time in weeks, I felt a flicker of safety. I was no longer alone. My dear listener, don't carry your pain in silence. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is speak the truth. Share this story to remind others that silence can destroy, but courage can save lives. As I left that station, I felt both terrified and relieved. I was scared because I knew Anthony would soon face a trap, and relieved because I no longer carried the burden alone. The storm was about to break, and I was ready to watch it unfold. The day of the arrest arrived sooner than I thought. The police moved quietly, putting their plan into action. I pretended to go about my day, heart racing, knowing everything was about to change. Anthony and Edward had arranged to meet and finalize their escape. What they didn't know was that every step they took was being watched. I stayed hidden, unable to breathe, as officers followed them. Then it happened. In a single moment, Anthony and Edward were surrounded. They didn't have time to fight, run, or even think. Handcuffs clicked around their wrists, and the lives they built on lies came crashing down. I watched from the shadows, tears stinging my eyes, not tears of sorrow, but of release. The man who vowed to love me had chosen betrayal and greed, and now justice had claimed him. If you are listening to me now, take this to heart. Justice may walk slowly, but it never forgets the path. Don't lose hope when you've been wronged. Share this story so others will know that even in the darkest betrayal, truth will rise. I turned away that day, walking into a future that was uncertain but free. Anthony was gone, not by death, but by the weight of his own sins. And I was still standing. Years have passed since those days, but the memory still lives in me like a scar. Sometimes at night, I still hear the echo of those words. If she ever finds out the truth, end her life. But I survived. I found the truth, and instead of my life ending, it was his freedom that ended. I sit here now, an old woman with wrinkled hands, telling you this story because silence nearly killed me once. If you take anything from my words, let it be this: never ignore the whispers of your heart. If you feel danger, seek the truth. If you are betrayed, know your worth. And if you fear you are alone, remember that someone has walked this road before you. Please, Don't let this story stay only with you. Share it so others may find courage through my pain. Somewhere out there is another wife, another husband, another soul too afraid to face the truth. Let my story remind them that even in the deepest betrayal, there is still a way to stand, to fight, and to live. That Bible sits on my shelf even now. The note is long gone, locked away in evidence, but its memory stays with me. Every time I glance at it, I remember the day I opened it and found not just a note, but the truth that changed my life forever.